Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. So we have yet another very interesting week in the market, and if you've watched these videos over the last couple of weeks, you're going to know what to expect from this week. Not a whole lot has changed in what's hot and what's cold. As far as Standard goes, Standard is holding very, very steady. The good news is for the format, it's not hemorrhaging value, which means players are just kind of holding their cards right now. Now, on the flip side, cards aren't going up in value either, but it kind of makes sense because we're on the cusp of learning what's in Aether Revolt. So players are a little hesitant to invest or even sell off their cards until they know what the new standard's going to look like. And that's what's reflected really in these prices. As far as Modern goes this week, Modern Masters 2017, really not that far away. So again, there's a similar sort of thing going on with Modern where players don't want to invest in some of the key cards there because there could be some reprints and some value to be had very soon. Legacy is Legacy. You're still seeing some big changes in reserve list cards and a few other notable cards there. But again, the big story of the week is Commander 2016 upgrade cards. Now, most of these fall under the Modern legal category, and we'll look at those in the Modern section of the video. You'll see most of these are upgrades for the Event Superiority deck and the Breed Lethality deck, but there's a lot of excitement still around these cards. Having said that, let's get started with Standard, and we'll look at the top 5 cards that lost value this week, and you're going to notice not a lot of big changes here. Coming in at number 5 is Kalatos, Trader of Geth, losing 30 cents to 2026. Number 4 is Noxious Gearhulk, down 32 cents to 551. Number 3 is Nissa Vital Force, down 35 cents to 599. Number 2 is Kozilek's Return, down 43 cents to 804. And finally, Virtuous Gearhulk is number 1, down 53 cents to 723. So, like I said at the top of the show, Standard is not losing value, which is a good sign. Folks are waiting to see what's going to happen. They're not trying to get out of the format or anything like that. They're just holding right now. All right, let's move on to the top 5 cards that have gained value this week. A lot of the same here. As a matter of fact, again, you're not going to see a gain even touch $1 this week. Coming in number 5 is Ishkana Graph Widow, up 12 cents to 930. This, of course, is in the Delirium decks. Coming in number 4 is Panharmonicon, up 16 cents to 488. Just an interesting side note, this does see Standard play, but also is a good upgrade card for the Breed Lethality deck in Commander 2016. Coming in at number 3 is Collective Brutality, up 18 cents to 644. Number 2, Nissa Nature's Artisan, up 22 cents to 524. This is the Planeswalker deck, Nissa. And coming in at number 1 is Chandra, Torch of Defiance, up 76 cents to 2090. I will say this about the card. I mean, we didn't see a huge gain this week or anything, but it is much higher than the other cards on the list. This card is seeing play now in Modern Jund decks, actually quite a few Modern Jund deck builds. Also, it's finding a home in Aetherworks decks in Standard, so it's taking a little time, but Chandra is starting to find her place, and she is a very good and powerful card that does a lot of things. I think $20 actually is not a bad price point for her at this point. Now, Aether Revolt coming out could change that. If there's some decks out there that embrace her with the Aether Revolt cards, then she's going to probably spike relatively hard. If that doesn't happen, she'll probably stick around the $20, $25 mark would be my guess. Alright, let's move on to Modern. And like I said at the top of the show, you're going to see a lot of cards either holding relatively steady or losing a small amount of ground, again, due to the fact Modern Masters 2017 is coming. And at this point, there's a little bit of speculation over which cards are going to be reprinted. Coming in number 5 is the Modern Masters version of Tarmogoyf, down $1.53 to $124.50. Goyfs have been very soft for a good month or two now. They have been slowly declining in value. Part of this is because the market is a little bit saturated with them, considering they did get reprints in both Modern Masters, and playability of this card is down slightly a little bit in current metagames. However, Modern Masters 2017 probably playing a role in this too. A lot of folks factor in, well, we saw Tarmogoyf in the first 2 Modern Masters, good chance we'll see it in the third one. Coming in number 4 is Copperline Gorge, down $1.55 to $12.55. This is a key part of the mana base and Naya Burn decks, as well as Dredge decks in Modern. Dredge decks got very popular for a while and really spiked this card, so this is a little bit of normal stabilization back down. Coming in number 3 is Damnation, down $1.56 to $59.99. Again, another big ticket card that a lot of folks don't want to invest in currently because there's a chance it could show up in Modern Masters 2017. My thought on this card, though, Damnation to me doesn't feel like a big modern card as much as it feels more of a big eternal card, especially like Commander formats like that. So it almost feels like it would have a better place in an Eternal Masters set. However, WotC has shown in recent history that they're really trying to push some of these big reprints. So this might be its time finally. I guess we'll see in a few months. Coming in at number 2 is Arkham Daxon, down $2.58 to $16.23. This was one of the first cards to spike after the Commander 2016 release. Of course, this fits very well in the Event Superiority deck. So some of these cards that spiked, especially the early ones, are starting to come down and stabilize right now. But there's still a lot of popularity around these upgrade cards, as you'll see in just a few moments. Finally, coming in at number 1 is Verdant Catacombs, down $3.23 to $68.03. This has been slowly declining recently, but it's staying very healthy around the $60 to $70 mark. All right, let's look at the top 5 modern cards that gained value this week. And like I said at the top of the show, you're not going to see a lot of modern playable cards here for the most part. You're going to see a lot of great Commander cards and one other anomaly. Coming in at number 5 is Microsynth Alanis, up $184 to $26.99. Quite honestly, I'm still surprised to see this one climbing. It's been climbing for a number of weeks. Of course, it is a upgrade card for the Event Superiority deck. I do think this is starting to top out, though. I can't see this really getting above $30, quite honestly, but it is still going strong right now. Coming in number 4 is Doubling Season from Ravnica, City of Guilds. This one's up $1.89 to $64.08. So the Modern Masters Doubling Season has grown quite a bit over the last few weeks. Stands to reason this one's going to try to catch up to it a little bit as well. Again, if you're out there to buy the Breed Lethality deck and you have the means to pick up Doubling Season, it's probably the first card you're going to think of as an upgrade for that deck. Coming in number 2 is Scourglass, up $2.32 to $6.48. This one has been on the radar for a couple weeks. It hasn't quite cracked the top 5 until this week, but again, another great upgrade card for Event Superiority. Coming in at number 2, Jace, Vryn's Prodigy, up $6.54 to $34.98. Now, we talked about this card last week. Yes, this is seen play in Vintage. Jace is seeing play in Legacy, but I don't really think that's what's driving this type of spike. This is a very hard spike, and it appears to be driven by Frontier. And it's not necessarily people jumping in and playing Frontier, but there's a lot of concern that Frontier, as it becomes more and more popular, potentially, that this card will become kind of the Jace the Mind Sculptor or the Tarmogoyf of that format. So players who don't have their play sets are starting to panic a little bit, and they're going out there and they're picking them up. So this card is probably going to live and die based on what happens with the Frontier format. If Frontier does become successful and get a foothold and Wizards supports it in the future, then yeah, this could be a pretty big deal over time. If that doesn't happen, this won't be a weak card by any means, but it won't see the amount of growth that you're seeing like this week, for example, right? So this one's a little bit of a risk. It's probably a high risk, high reward card, but I would suggest this. If you don't have your playsets of this card, I'd probably think about picking them up. If you think at any point in your Magic playing career you're going to want to play with Jace, I think this is just as good a time as any to pick these up. It is spiking hard. You might be able to get a stealth buy and still pick this up for $25-$30 in a lot of places. As a matter of fact, I checked the Amazon affiliate store this morning and you can get these for about $31, so a tad bit cheaper there. So look for those type of deals because they'll be out there. Coming in at number 1 is a Johnny Steadfast, up $9.38 to $20. Okay, so we talked about this card last week, and this is a pretty big spike for this one. And again, a great upgrade card for the Breed Lethality deck. A lot of players are turning those into Super Friends decks, and this card actually is perfect for any kind of Super Friends deck, not just the Breed Lethality deck. Another driver for this, I do think, is the fact that some of the Aether Revolt cards we've seen so far, now we haven't seen that many, but a few of them are kind of Planeswalker-centric. So I think it's just got people thinking about Super Friends decks more than ever, not even for Modern necessarily, but perhaps for just Commander. And because of that, this card has seen a lot of growth. I will warn you, though, this card, even though it has had a big spike, has actually lost ground over the last 24 hours or so. So this might be the top of the spike coming up here. I don't see this card surpassing maybe $25 or so, at least at this point. But I do think this card has been undervalued for a very long time. All right, let's move on to Legacy. And Legacy is kind of doing its thing this week. You're not going to see a lot of big changes, but there are a few cards that we haven't seen over the last few weeks on here. Coming in number 5 is Badlands. This one's down 1751 to 151.67. Number 4 is Island of Wak Wak, down 1752 to 67.48. Now, I've mentioned this card over the last few weeks at this point, but I will say if you are in the market of picking up some Arabian Nights cards, some rares, some interesting cards, I think this one still has a pretty good price point. And a lot of these cards are reaching the $100 mark or even more now. And this one is one of those cards that I think is iconic enough, and you can still get it for sometimes $60 or so. I wouldn't be afraid to pick this one up. I do think long term this will have a lot more value. Coming in at number 3, Force Field from Unlimited, down 23.60 to 142.63. This one saw a big spike about a week ago, so this is just normal stabilization for this card. I did mention this before, but I do think there are some collectors out there that are turning their sights to cards from Unlimited that did not get a reprint and revise, that have been under the radar for many years. Cards like this one, for example. Coming in at number 2 is Volcanic Island, down 24.25 to 453.82. And coming in at number 1, another one of those cards from Unlimited that didn't get a reprint and revised, Gauntlet of Might, down 31.60 to 186.36. And this is another example of a card that spiked pretty hard a couple weeks ago now, 2-3 weeks ago, and it's just stabilizing. All right, let's look at the cards that gained value this week. Coming in number 5 is Howling Mine from Unlimited, up $33.02 to $69. Now, this is actually a modern legal card, but the reason I keep it on the Legacy list is the only Howling Mines that are really seeing value increases or decreases are Alpha, Beta, and Unlimited, quite honestly. And yeah, you could speculate maybe some folks who picked up the Stalwart Unity deck want to upgrade it with a fancier copy, but I don't really think that's what's going on here. I think this is just simply a blip on the radar. I think somebody overpaid this week for Howling Mine. Coming in number 4 is Moat, up $33.60 to $613.55. Moat's pretty steady right now, around $600. Of course, we saw the buyout not that long ago. Since then, more copies have been reintroduced into the market, but it is sticking around the $600 mark. Coming in number 3, City of Brass from Arabian Nights, up $42 to $135. Again, another modern legal card if you want to trick out your modern deck. But really, again, the driving force here is just a lot of folks are looking at those Arabian Nights cards. And it could be folks just trying to collect them or even just put together sets, things of that nature. But a lot of these Arabian Nights rares are very hot right now. Coming in number 2 is Nether Void, up $46.29 to $307.28. Another card that's been going up and down, was a victim of a buyout a few months back, but it has been sticking around that $300 mark. And finally, coming in at number 1, the Tabernacle at Pendrell, up $66.47 to $1,170.45. So this is still just jumping back and forth. It is a little weaker than it has been in recent history, though, typically sticking around the $1,200 mark. I have noticed it's been slightly lower over the last month or two. Having said that, that is the market watch for this week. So I think next week's going to be very similar to this week. However, the week after, I think the standard market is going to start to heat up a little bit. As we see more Ether Revolt reveals, people start to speculate over which cards are going to be hot in standard. And then we're on a bumpy ride all the way through the Pro Tour after that. So I think standard's about to heat up. And then right after that, we're going to get really close to Modern Masters, starting to find out what cards are going to be in that set. It's going to spark a lot of interest again in Modern. So there's a lot of excitement on the horizon at this point, but I do think we have at least another slow week of the market. So having said that, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.